All right, welcome back. This is the Grow Room, episode 9. We're calling it Battle 1 with the CRC. How you doing, TJ?
I'm doing good, Joey. I'm excited for what's to come.
You know, I think this is probably the most exciting time in our Grow the High and our company's experience. This is going to be, I think, one of the biggest game changers. We're taking a leap of faith on this one, you know?
Oh yeah, it's definitely a little bit more of an active role than we've been taking. So it's exciting, just at the possibilities
Damn
of
right.
what's to come.
So let's give some background to the people because I think there's a lot of new people here. You know, in if we ever do our thing and it gets big, maybe more new people will be watching this episode. So let's give them a little background, right? What is the CRC, TJ? If you want to give a one liner, how should people understand what the CRC is?
The CRC is the Cannabis Regulation Committee, and essentially they decide all the rules and regulations that, are around the cannabis industry. For each license type, for, every business, they have to follow, what the CRC says.
Okay, now let's also just give them like a one liner on basically what their mandate was. What is their what do they say their goal is?
So, um, they have a few goals that they are claiming, and one is to build a healthy industry, and two, provide back through equity to the afflicted communities of
Right,
the drug war.
the social justice guys.
Hmm.
Now, is just on that, is the promise meeting the reality?
No, I don't think it is, to be
Okay, so
honest.
they're not doing what they are setting out to do.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're having this discussion because we're going to be doing something very interesting in this upcoming week. But let's first talk about what the problem is, right? Why we're even having this discussion to begin with. What's that key issue? So let's start with something that's come up, pretty often in the last few meetings: the Seef fee. What you and I both know, and what a lot of business owners who try and get into this cannabis industry know, is that just starting a business is very hard. Not only is it hard, there's a lot of money and resources and time that you got to put in. And then finally, when you get to become a business and you finally get to start doing your business, the last thing you need is for the laws and the fees to start increasing, where you don't know what it will be increasing on, but as it keeps increasing, you have to keep paying and your profit margins keep dropping. So an arbitrary increase in fees or new fees, that can kill a business, especially when you don't know like what the future of your costs are. So now, TJ, do you want to talk about what was the C fee, as in what was the problem with the Seef fee? And
Uh,
why are we having this discussion?
Okay. So first, uh, let me just explain a little bit what the C fee is. The C fee essentially is this fee that they put on cultivators that is supposed to go to this fund that they are going to use to give back to afflicted communities by the war on drugs. Okay, and to date, they had somewhere around 4 million collected for this fee. Um, but the major problem with the C fee is one, they put it on the cultivators, right? Um, within in the supply chain because they're first. And they have the product that everyone needs. To be competitive, they have to sell it for as low as they can. There's no way around it. They need it's just how the supply chain works. Um, but this they have it right now, or it was like $1.25, I believe. I might be wrong on that for the original.
Up
Um,
until some time ago,
up
right?
and yeah, up until the
Either it was
was it the
October
last
or
meeting?
December. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Which they increased it to, I believe, 225. And this is for, I believe, both usable and unusable cannabis.
So this is
Uh,
cultivators getting a fee placed on top of whatever they
mhm.
already have to pay, but basically per ounce that they sell, they have to pay an extra this amount of dollars to the CRC.
Yep.
Now, if this is say this if say this fee is something that never changed and was
Oh,
set at
oh,
this
I'm
amount.
sorry. I'm sorry to cut you off.
Mhm.
It's actually 250 per ounce.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say so it's more than doubled.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. It up from 124 to 250.
So I would think that the CRC has some idea, but it's not the case, is it? How do you think they decided that number?
So originally, during legalization, they set a cap on it, which is $30 as of now. I don't know exactly how they came to this conclusion for this number. Originally, there was votes for like jumping to $11 already. And then one of them brought it down to 8, and then they eventually, settled on 2.5, which yes, it's doubling it, but it's still semi-manageable price right now. Like I don't think it's, gonna kill anyone just on this 250. I
But
think the
on that
mhm,
in the way they decided that number, like you just
mhm,
said, so they had a CRC meeting.
mhm,
All of them had a vote. They basically
yeah,
had the tiniest, not even a discussion about basically just they stated their projected opinion, and then when the one that was the 250 happened with his own reasoning given, then it was agreed upon that they voted for it and they said yes to.
yeah.
But like to me, that shows that there's zero cohesive discussion, and it it that's unacceptable. This seemed almost like luck that we got 250 and not
Oh,
$8.
oh, for sure. I mean,
Like holy shit.
between the CRC members themselves throwing out a pretty wide range of increases, there is also the lobbyists that were, calling for it to be set to its maximum already.
Okay, we have to talk about that one. Okay, so there's two things happening here. One is the CRC, which is I'm going to just generously call them a well-educated group. And then there's the regular, we'll call them regular people calling in into the public meetings, giving their opinions in these comments. Now the CRC should be having your interests in mind, and they you see them voting like this, and you see some of them putting these high fees. Makes you question how much they understand the consequences of something like this, putting an $8 or $10 or $15 fee. But then you got these randoms calling in. Some of these guys, some of them are amazing, right? Some of these people
Mhm.
are blessed human beings. But then
Yes.
you got the people who are just atrocious. Some of them are just brand marketers. Some of them are just here to, you know, kill the industry. Well, what are we expecting to happen here, TJ? Are we expecting the CRC to continue doing what they're doing while acting like they're going to be working on social justice? Or do we
Uh,
think that this is something that can change?
now, right now, I think we're in the early stages. So I think, there's time to change. It is semi bleak because we have seen some of the same people coming meeting after meeting, you know, getting ignored.
But then
Um,
what happens when the CRC keeps ignoring them? Medical patients are leaving, right? Like the
oh yeah,
like people aren't happy with the way this is going, right?
yeah. I mean, from about 2 years ago, I think they peaked somewhere around like 124, 125,000 people. Um, Over the next 2 years, they're down to like 84 right now. They lost about a third of their people. And we obviously don't know the exact reason, but it's a very large number. So, a good chance a lot of them left because of the conditions. Right now, with how few people are in the industry, there's not like a large variety of strains available, as well as like for medical patients in particular. A lot of times it's a particular strain that they need, right? It,
Yeah.
it has the right terpene composition or whatever it needs in for that, ailment that they have.
And
Um,
this gets us onto an incredibly important point, which is what you're saying. There's a lack of the strains that these patients, these people need. TJ, how many cannabis cultivators are trying to start business but haven't, and they should?
they and this is just cultivators. I counted about 140. Um,
So you're telling me, in basically in limbo, are 140
yeah,
real organizations with real
yeah,
people behind them, real
mm,
investors, real properties, real a lot of things, potentially a lot of things, not just
potential.
properties. They
Yeah,
might not have the property in,
yeah.
but they can't. They haven't started business.
They haven't started business. And, some of these guys, out of this 140, there's a few that literally just got it. So, cut the number down a bit. Probably, uh, I mean, they only, for every one, I think it was like anywhere between like 3 and 5 added. So, maybe 10, 20 of them, just got stuff ready and they, getting move on.
Hopefully, yeah,
But a lot of them were selected a long time ago and
yeah.
they're just filing for extension after extension.
And
Um,
I mean, I have to wonder because we don't know, but how many of them
yeah.
are going to make it a year from now? How many of those 140 will still be either trying to apply or have started business? You
Uh,
know,
it, it's for cultivators. Ugh, I mean,
well, your
what we went
investors are
through.
pulling out.
Yeah. Oh, investors pulling out. I mean, I
Like your
know,
investors
I
put in
know a
$1 million
couple.
thinking that they're getting something out of this.
I know at least a few of them that have already started GoFundMe's and similar type of money generation.
It's
People.
funny because you're almost to the point where even if you have investors, you have to do a GoFundMe.
Oh, 100%. Because over time, if you happen to have a building, right, you're paying rent. Um,
You are
if
definitely
you
paying rent. Yep.
if you don't have a building, you took a loan out for this. You got to make those payments.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and even for like cultivators in general, they're stuck having to. Ooh, excuse me, sorry, hiccup. Um, they're stuck paying rent for 3 months before they can even sell anything, and statistically, most cultivators fail their first harvest.
and
Right?
and we're not, this is before even getting into like some of the real costs that these guys have while growing, right? Like, so while growing, when they actually do have to start, they've gone through hell already. Got it.
Mhm,
Now they start.
mhm,
Now that they start, there's still a lot of work to do. There's a lot of risk, there's a lot of money to spend, a lot of resources,
mhm,
prices of stuff are going up. And what I'm hearing is, especially for cultivators, what like the price of products. I understand that dispensaries can effectively mark prices up or down based off of things like quality, things like, demand, things like basically it's a retail store.
yeah,
But now cultivators, when they're going to the market and they're seeing like, hey, we have a bunch of cannabis, we're willing to sell it, who's willing to buy? Basically, they're going to be charged based off of the general rate of, I need this amount of cannabis, how much you got? Now, as a cultivator, if you had the opportunity to decide your own prices, I would think there's a problem. But because you're trying to sell to people who decide prices for you, you don't get to control your prices. So then a Seef fee of something like $30, what does that do?
Oh, it'd kill you. I mean, so cultivators are working with like a 10 to 20% margin anyway. So like they got like the lowest profit margin in the industry. But on top of that, you got to pay your employees, you got to pay for the building, you got to pay for supplies. There's a lot of things that
And if you cut
and
the
if
revenue
you
in
took a
half,
loan, yeah, and if you cut the revenue in half, how do you sustain that, right? You're basically becoming a slave at that point because best case scenario, you're breaking even,
so
losing half your profit right off the bat.
so then what I tend to think here is that we see this kind of pushing out of a small business in a way where basically they're saying, listen, if you can somehow own the entire vertical process, you somehow become profitable because you control everything up until and even the retail. But in a way where you're just the cultivator, and if you're a small cultivator, I don't see this working well for you.
No,
I don't
like I
think
said,
the amount is enough. If the fees can go to $30, like it, so I'm thinking
mhm,
$1,000 per pound, just off some stuff I was reading online due to inflation and other things. $1,000 a pound, about $60, $70 an ounce, and you're putting $30 fees. Like one day this might happen, whether
yeah.
it's by pure luck, whether it's by premeditated, sleight of hand, under the table money transfer, or we might just see some kind of push for it by the public because they're idiots and they don't understand the cultivators are the backbone of this industry. But $30 might happen one day, and when that happens, what do you think will happen?
I think like with our regular farmers, it's not gonna be good. Anyone small is going to be bought up and basically they're gonna be forced to serve under, another company and basically just work for the bare minimum.
So it,
Um,
it, it would literally price them out of their own
mhm.
business.
Oh yeah, 100%. I'd imagine unless you were, the top small business and you made it to the point where you could upgrade your license, you'd never be able to offset the cost. Um,
So just what's the disconnect here? Do you think the CRC knows that they're one, this is on cultivators, two, the revenue of $60 to $70 per ounce for cultivators, and three, that this is pushing out small businesses who can't keep up such high volumes that it can actually run a business like this?
mm,
Do you think they know
um,
that?
I I want to say that they don't know it because, I want to believe, they're good people. But it feels like, I mean, we saw it. If these guys are well-educated people, to me, it feels like there's no way they can't know and see this coming a mile away. Um, so like like I mean it is tin hatty, but it feels like some backhand deals are going on and allowing like big players to basically control the entire market.
I mean, so we've seen a lot of these meetings.
Mhm.
We've actually analyzed them pretty in depth, a lot. And we've talked to a lot of real people. We've seen a lot of these problems. Do you think that in the future, as more and more people, like, what are your thoughts on people going to dispensaries now, or turning to official cannabis versus maybe some street vendors, stuff like that?
Uh, right now, it seems like it's a 50-50 split. I mean, in our one podcast, we interviewed a bunch of people and asked them what they thought of, the current market and the current product. And over half of them were saying that they don't shop at dispensaries, they go to street vendors. And most of them were because of price.
That's
You know,
interesting.
with so few cultivators in the industry, it's artificially making the supply lower than it needs to be. So like prices are jacked up right now. I think some places it's like $60 for an eighth.
Jesus
Um,
Christ.
and it's only gonna get worse over time because with half of the people gone buying, like even all the dispensaries around me used to be packed every day.
Yeah,
Um, and now like I see maybe one or two people in there at a time.
interesting.
Um, and
So,
that could just be the ones by me. But I don't. I live by. There's so many dispensaries. Is really the problem.
I mean,
Um,
what I'm interested in now is what we've seen when the industry really started. It was very hyped. There was a lot
yeah,
of, I remember there were lines out the door
yeah,
for like wrapped around, and the thing I was thinking now is if you look at that like a chart and you
mm,
see the decline of people going to dispensaries, the decline of people wanting to get to this official cannabis.
mm.
One thing I'm wondering is, does the CRC understand the supply and demand dynamic? Because so one, we're talking about cultivators not being able to basically meet the real strain kind of demand because there's a lot of niche strains, there's a lot of individual requirements, there's a lot of seasonal stuff. And then there's this concept of basically people can go to street vendors, and if the prices aren't good for legal weed, you actually just like plain and simple, if prices aren't good for legal weed, you're going to get them going to street vendors. And I mean, so I don't think the CRC understands this supply and demand dynamic. But what I do want to know is if this gets worse, if we see more, demand for individual strains and they're not getting it, and we see, more people going to street vendors, prices keep going up, they keep inching up slightly. Do you think the CRC drops the ball and we just become one of the worst states for cannabis
Oh yeah. To be honest,
instead
it
of the
feels
best?
like if it feels like so. There's a few things I've noticed that are actually about this because of the pressure. I've noticed there's been a decline in the quality of weed here.
Oh
And
no,
I'm
that's the
not the
worst.
only one noticing it. A lot of my customers, bring it up. Um, but the other thing, and there was also one of the last two CRC meetings. There was claims, and I did see. I want to say it was Cureleaf. Don't quote me on that, but someone had to do a total recall of their product because they didn't cure it properly and it grew mold.
No.
Um, let me
And see, this is what I'm talking about. One of the things that this tells me is that the CRC doesn't actually care about the end product. It seems to be that they're just focused on getting businesses through. or at least the
Oh,
process.
hmm, 2020. Let's see.
What
Green
are it? What are the numbers?
Green Medicine, New Jersey, um, was the claim in uh, July 29th, 2024.
So they're the ones, or they
They,
made a complaint, or
um, yeah, they were found in violation. Dirt, debris, and other foreign
right?
matter. Okay, so not mold, but it contained insects,
Oh
um,
God, you're talking
and
parasites and stuff? No,
um,
all
and
insects are
human hair.
parasites to me. Well, yeah, I mean, listen, that's I
It,
don't
oh,
know.
and it was lab tested. 15 samples, 12 out of the 15 had
Jesus Christ.
insects and hair.
Oh
Uh,
my God.
or maybe just one or the other.
And
I
so
don't know
I
exactly the
have to
breakdown.
wonder how many people had touched their product before someone got sick, before,
45,
they found out, before this thing happened.
11, 12, 13, 14.
Poor
I
people.
don't. Yeah, it doesn't, say any of that. But there's 14 batches that were affected by this. I don't know how large a batch is though.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
either way, the CRC, they have a long way to go. If not that these things like don't happen, but to me, the whole point of this is the cultivators have a very unique role in this, and their role to me is provide as much of the best quality weed in the world as you can. And if if that was the CRC's mandate, they wouldn't have the Seef fee. They would be pushing in cultivators. They'd be putting an emphasis on, local growing and connecting with like local businesses, and I don't see any of that. Do you think the CRC is going to advocate on behalf of the industry ever?
um, I think in ways, they've done good work. But I know this has been a long meme of them ignoring the cultivator's voice. Almost like every other CRC meeting, it feels like there's some farmer there, you know, asking to be heard and to be brought to the table. And it's this exact reason is the CRC I don't think understands the cost of business, especially in this industry. Um, so
You
yeah,
can
I
say that
don't.
again.
What was that?
You can say that again.
Yeah. Um, they like it doesn't make any sense if when you need more farmers than they've allowed in. And it feels like, like if they don't have a plan with what they've done with the CFE, since it's supposed to, help, the affected community, that I'm sure there's plenty out of that 140 cultivators that, could benefit from the
Exactly.
financial aid. And that, would actually build up the health of the industry.
Damn straight.
There's 175 dispensaries right now across New Jersey. Maybe more because this is as of October 2024. Um, where like if there's only about 21 cultivators supplying all 175 across the state, it, you're bound to run into problems. They're gonna be rushed. There needs to be more supply to drop these prices for everyone and keep the industry, alive. Also, like with so few and they're limited on how many strains they can grow at a time. Like how are you going to really show what's out there in the cannabis world
Yeah.
if you got maybe like 100 strains only, if that. um, across the entire state. It's too little. Like I said, it leads to these problems of rushing. Like I said, one of the speakers last time made a claim that he got uncured bud because they now have started for some of them. I don't know if every dispensary does this, but they put the cut date on the jar, and he said that he got it a week after it was cut, which you need, I think, at least like 2-3 weeks
Mm.
minimum to properly cure bud.
So
And then he
right
also
off the bat, we're getting basically flaws in our system. We're getting rushed, like you're saying, cannabis. If the CRC somehow were able to get in the cultivators, get in the suppliers of all this good cannabis, one, definitely the price of cannabis will drop. The demand can finally be met. You might get a lot of positivity towards that industry.
Mhm.
But then I'm thinking the CRC has an opportunity here where a very simple solution that any kind that they choose that can somehow allow cultivators to know what strain people want and get it to them. And now the point I'm trying to make might end up being something like a partnership between delivery and like transportation and cultivators. But it could even be something as simple as a cultivator going out into the state and saying, I want my customers, I want the people who like my product to vote and decide what strain I grow. And the point of this I'm trying to say is that there's a lot of people who want a strain but can't get it. And to be honest, if there were physically more individual cultivators, that problem is guaranteed to be solved. We need more cultivators.
oh, of course. I mean, especially in the medical side,
Yeah, definitely.
where like as much as I agree, we definitely need more cultivators, but I think the CRC has a chance to open up home grow
Oh my
now,
god, that would be amazing.
at least for medical patients, since at the end of the day, the medical industry has to operate as a business, right? Whatever's the most selling, the most needed plant is what they're going to grow. So people with more niche needs are never going to be able to get their strain. So, like, if you allowed home grow for medical patients, not only would I see, potentially more medical patients instead of this rapid decline, um, you'd actually have a benefit to being a medical patient again.
Yeah,
Right now, it's so limited that like, a lot of it. It seems a lot of the medical patients that left, went to recreational because one, I believe it's cheaper,
mm,
uh, and you don't have to, keep paying for your medical card. But two, the variety of strains is just more, you know?
wow. Yeah, I want to see the CRC start advocating. Like I want to see the CRC focus on everything from like working with municipalities, like helping, not helping, but more like creating the right kind of situation, training, real education for real estate companies. Like so for example, like there's a lot of problems for these 140 trying to get in and trying to start their business, get operational. I want to see that alleviated immediately. I think a lot of the core issue that I have with the CRC is that if if all the effort that these micro businesses, that these 140 companies for the cultivators, let's call it just all the companies, are putting in towards starting their company, building out all this infrastructure. I want the CRC to meet them halfway. I want them to I don't want them to just focus on making the application process easy. I want them to focus on educating and making the process to get them operational easy. And that includes educating, financial institutions, real estate companies, promoting more real estate companies or financial institutions to get involved with cannabis. And if they don't do that, what ends up happening is like most of the time the grassroots movements, if they at least know that the CRC is making it easier, then there's some way that like something can happen. If you're not going to be the light at the end of the tunnel, if you're not going to reach over from the other side, just make it clear.
Yeah.
Like make it clear up front.
You know what I think would really help cultivators out specifically?
But
Um, I feel the CRC gave the municipalities a little bit too much power with
yeah,
being able to set up specific areas for each license.
yeah,
Like I understand, you know, the rules around it can't be near schools, churches, whatnot. Those a lot of those make sense. But, add on top that you're stuck in a small box, and if there's not a property, there's just not a property,
yeah,
right? Like, how are you expecting them to survive? How are you expecting more of them to come into the industry if they're just stuck in either unusable buildings where they gotta spend months fixing them, or they get, what's there, get in, but now there's not a space for the other 140, right? Like each that was a huge, huge hurdle we were, up against when we were looking around for properties is that we'd go in, check, and every building was either only for like a huge operation and you couldn't like section it off,
yeah,
or it was an unusable building. Like it was just like a lot of them poor condition. And like I said, you know, it's is what it is that you gotta renovate it and whatnot. But that's extra cost. That's making it that much more difficult for cultivators to even enter the industry.
yeah. And I mean, honest to God, I think the CRC's like I think they've truly I do think they've done a good job as well. I think they've focused on all the right things, but they definitely haven't done all the things they could. And right now, my real question is if like something like the Seef, for example, they set this out for social justice. They have about $4 million in cash. After this, I mean, I'd love to go over a little bit of this optimistic versus pessimistic outlook of the CRC. But if they're sitting on $4 million in cash, TJ, and they're saying they're going to use it for social justice. Now, you just in this conversation, you thought of an idea, like why don't we just use the 4 million to help these businesses actually start? Um,
Yeah.
Something like that could be profound, you know. But even if they were using it for social justice, to me, there's I don't like this concept of hiding behind social justice. And if you're gonna use it for something real, and it had a real impact, and it brought real eyes and real glory to New Jersey, I'd be proud. But
Oh, of course.
I haven't heard discussion on that. I haven't heard any like is it gonna be a 5 6 man vote again that by roll of the dice we might get one choice to use that fund?
Yeah, I don't know, man. It to me, it does seem because they've been collecting this for a while now, and $4 million is a start to something, anything, right? But I'm scared that we're gonna, and I use this metaphor a lot, get a swing set because a lot of times, it's something along that lines, something that doesn't really add too much value.
Yeah.
Where like, there's a lot of things you can do with that money to benefit either, the communities themselves from renovating and fixing up roads, things like that.
I'll be
Um,
honest, you put that in a high yield interest account at 4 or 5%, you're earning $200,000 a year. You're able to pay 5 people's salaries. Imagine just paying 5 people forever,
yeah,
or having 5 jobs that help New Jersey or the cannabis industry paid for forever. Like, not to say that this is a good use of the money, but at least while you're sitting on cash, you could have been paying for jobs
yeah,
on the yield. But just on that, TJ, these guys aren't financial advisors. These guys aren't trained in economics, finance. They're they're I don't want to say glorified lawyers, but they're legal.
some of them are lawyers.
Okay, they're glorified lawyers, and they don't have the kind of training. They might be very knowledgeable, but I don't think they have the right mindset when they have $4 million in cash and inflation is burning away $400,000 every year of their purchasing power.
Yeah, it's kind of sad to see, especially the goals honorable. I'm totally with them if they're actually on track, but a lot of it seems like they really have no plan and they're just making it up as they go.
And so we're gonna fix that, TJ, right?
Mm, yeah, I hope so.
So
Get maybe
what are we doing
uh
this
mhm,
February 6th, TJ? Tell the
mhm.
people.
So Joey and I are going to the CRC and joining the public comments. We're
Damn
starting to
straight
get
we are.
active, okay? And we have some propositions. My
Why don't you take a seat?
proposition are more around, the CFE and certain problems with the medical side, where our buddy Joey here will be telling them what they should be doing with that 4 million.
Damn straight. And I'll be honest, we're definitely gonna try and go to the rest of these meetings.
Oh,
We
everyone, we have to.
it
They need. It seems like they need some guidance.
can we agree that
Mm.
3 minutes a month is not a good amount of time to
Oh,
be
not
able
only
to
not
give the
only that,
right context.
what's crazy is like you got to submit your writing as well. Like you submit the speech, and I guess can go longer.
Do you have to
In the
submit the
written,
speech?
yeah, you have to. I guess you don't technically have to, but they
I
ask for it by the next day.
as in the I didn't get asked to give a speech.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. It says please submit your public notes by the following day. You didn't see that when
I
you signed up for the meeting?
no, but did you submit something?
Oh, I didn't submit anything yet. No.
I okay, well I'll read that again, but I just assumed that they're saying after the meeting, if you have something to say, say it. But I'll read that
That
again.
that might be true, but I took it as whatever you say in your speech, also right there, so
Interesting.
that they can go over it.
Yeah, we'll check that
I'd
again.
imagine.
But yeah, so we're gonna try and go to all of them, right? Like in 3 minutes, I don't think is good enough. And even though it's a month later, I mean we have to, right? They're very
Yeah.
sparingly, given to us. At this point, we should just get 10 friends, have them all sign up, and secure 30 minutes.
Oh, that'd be wonderful.
Like
They would
drill
hate us
in
though.
the points. We'll get all of the OGs from the last 3 meetings, right? We'll call them. we'll have a group sesh, and we'll organize our speeches, and every meeting we'll be showing up. I think that my thing here is the CRC has an opportunity, but I don't know if it's just procrastination, or they think they have time, or is it just because they don't understand it, or they're intentionally not doing it, that they're not taking these opportunities and not being more forward with the people.
Yeah, it's hard to feel like they even listen to him though.
Do you
I
think
mean,
they've talked
mm,
to any real people in person,
it
real
doesn't seem like
conversations?
that. A lot of the comments are we've been ignored. So
If you don't talk to real people in real conversations, one on
mm,
one, in person, in private, in just like a regular casual setting,
mm.
how do I know that you're a good CRC member? That you know what these people want and think and what's good for them if you haven't talked to them?
Yeah, it doesn't seem like they care. They I don't know. It almost seems like the power is going to their head where they, like, you know, we decide what the rules are. It doesn't matter what the rest of the, industry wants or needs. Um, they they almost every meeting there's at least like two, three guys talking about how they feel ignored. I mean, like we've seen some people about to cry because they're losing everything.
I should be
We've
having
seen
my weed in this
we
bucket.
yeah. Oh, dude, that guy was losing his mind. And then the poor girl that needed that specific strain for epilepsy. She's been there almost every month, I think. I
Jesus.
remember seeing her a long time ago.
What's crazy is
Uh,
that, not to say that you shouldn't be polite, but she's polite, and
oh yeah,
and
she's
I
a
tend to
wonderful.
wonder, like, we will be showing up, TJ,
Mhm.
and we'll have to decide this as well. What kind of attitude will we have in front of the CRC? And I know
Um,
what I'll do, and I
mhm.
hope you know what you'll do. But do you think the CRC deserves the politeness?
Honestly, not really. I mean, not
Would
where
you,
I don't
as long as you're
condone.
more truthful and
Mhm.
factual and logical, do you think the politeness matters anymore?
At this point, no, because it's a respect thing, right? Respect's earned, not given,
Yeah,
right? And if they're not going to respect the industry, why should the industry respect them? Is my feelings about it. Now, do I condone yelling at them, berating them, whatever? No, but I think a certain level of sternness um is almost required, and I do notice that a lot of the speakers are starting to get that sternness with them.
yeah,
I mean,
I've
some
seen
of them
this.
are also losing it. But for the most part, it seems like controlled anger is the theme of the speakers.
I'm hopeful.
I am not. I.
And on that note, yeah. So listen, we'll definitely attend this meeting. I think after that we'll have another episode because this thing's literally in this week.
Yeah,
And we'll update the people, right? We'll give them a rundown on how it went. Sound good?
sounds good.
All right, all right, everyone. If you stayed this long, you're a real one. 50 minutes of just explaining what's wrong with the CRC and how we're gonna battle them. Thank you for watching. If you like this episode, hit a like, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell if you want to know more. And we're going to try and put out more of these episodes now, especially now that we're going to be trying to attend every one of these meetings. Hope you tune in for the next one. Peace.
Peace.